It began as a glittering night meant to signal a triumphant return, but it ended with Meghan Markle caught in the most humiliating moment of her so-called comeback. Cameras rolled, flashbulbs burst, and somewhere between the laughter and the clinking of crystal, Emma Grade's elbow sliced dangerously close to Meghan's face. Just inches, yet the distance felt like a lifetime. That brief brush of air told the whole story. One woman commanding the room, another fighting not to be erased. The look on Meghan Markle's face was the kind that only lasts a second, but burns forever online. That tight jaw, the frozen smile, the infamous long blink, half composure, half silent scream. Everyone saw it. The crowd smiled politely, pretending nothing happened. But the internet? The internet never blinks. Within hours, slow-motion clips of Meghan stiffening in her chair flooded timelines. Commentators zoomed in, pausing frame by frame as if decoding a crime scene. This dinner wasn't supposed to be chaos. It was supposed to be Meghan Markle's victory lap, the night she cemented her new image as a powerhouse entrepreneur. The Duchess reborn as a self-made mogul. Gone were the royal titles. In their place, glossy ambition and curated self-belief. The venue was perfection. Designer Kelly Weasler's luminous home, all marble and candlelight, packed with women who'd actually built empires. For them, success was tangible. For Meghan, it was theater. As Emma Grade animatedly gestured through her speech, the contrast was painful. She spoke with conviction, unrehearsed, natural, magnetic. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, sat rigid, her smile a mask that faltered each time the spotlight drifted away. For a woman used to owning every room she enters, being an accessory at her own rebrand dinner must have felt like slow torture, because make no mistake, this was a rebrand disguised as empowerment. The seat at the table dinner wasn't about networking, it was about optics. The plates, the lighting, the perfectly staged photos, it all screamed Instagram first, substance later. Emma Grade understood the game. Every shot was content, every conversation a caption waiting to happen. And right in the middle sat Meghan, carefully styled, perfectly postured, desperate for the world to notice that she was still part of something powerful. She wanted to be seen as the woman who'd made it on her own terms, the boss girl, the entrepreneur, the visionary. But behind those practiced smiles, there was tension. You could almost feel Meghan Markle calculating each gesture, each nod, each polite laugh, terrified that one wrong move would betray how deeply uncomfortable she was. Because this wasn't her crowd anymore. These weren't royal courtiers or celebrity activists paid to flatter her. These were women with balance sheets, investors, and credibility she couldn't borrow. For months, Meghan had been sculpting this new identity. The jam brand, the lifestyle patents, the return to authenticity posts. The narrative was simple. She didn't need royalty, she was royalty, in business form. But then came this dinner. And one elbow later, it all crumbled. Because while Emma Grade was being celebrated for her genuine achievements, Meghan Markle looked like she'd shown up just to prove she still belonged. The internet pounced. Did you see her face? She blinked like she was rebooting. Memes, reaction videos, slow-motion breakdowns, it all became spectacle. For someone who's built her post-royal empire on image control, this loss of composure was a public unraveling. The irony? This was the very event designed to prove she had composure. So what really happened at that table? Why was Meghan Markle even invited? Insiders whisper that Emma Grade, now both entrepreneur and ambassador for the King's Foundation, had more than friendship in mind. Her management agency, WME, happens to represent Meghan too. Coincidence? Hardly. Hollywood rarely does anything by accident. Their connection wasn't emotional. It was contractual. A calculated move to keep Meghan's name circulating while Emma basked in the PR glow of women supporting women. But what began as mutually beneficial soon looked like mutual desperation. The optics were disastrous. How could Emma Grade, a figure tied to the King's Foundation, publicly cozy up to the very woman who accused that same family of racism? Royal loyalists called it betrayal. British tabloids called for her removal. And Meghan? She smiled through it, pretending not to notice the firestorm that followed her everywhere she goes. It's the same pattern again and again. Every time Meghan Markle inches toward a new chapter, the backlash chases her like a shadow. Each reinvention, actress to duchess, duchess to activist, activist to entrepreneur, starts with glossy headlines and ends in exhaustion. Because image without substance eventually collapses under its own weight. Even Emma Grade's patience looked strained that night. She hosted, she performed, she sold the dream of solidarity. But anyone watching closely could see the cracks. The forced camaraderie, the nervous glances, the tension that hung over every toast. The world saw two women smiling, but the body language told a different story. One of imbalance, of power subtly shifting, of an alliance built not on friendship but on necessity. Later, when photos flooded social media, Emma's team shared glamorous angles, the table settings, the guests, the laughter. But Meghan Markle's inclusion felt almost like an afterthought. She was in the frame, yes, but not the focus. And for Meghan, that might have been the worst cut of all. Because for her, visibility is survival. Every event she attends, every appearance she makes, is part of a larger performance. Look, I still matter. It's exhausting, relentless, and tragically transparent. The dinner was supposed to be proof of power, but what it revealed was fragility. The Duchess who once commanded palaces now sits at borrowed tables, smiling just a little too hard, waiting for someone to validate her worth again. Validate her worth again. Behind that long blink, there's more than irritation. There's fear. The kind of fear only someone who's built their entire identity on attention can feel when the crowd starts looking away. And that's what this dinner truly captured. Not empowerment, not sisterhood, but the quiet panic of Meghan Markle, realizing the world is finally learning to move on without her. When the night ended, the smiles stayed frozen, but the truth lingered in the air like perfume that won't fade. Meghan Markle left that dinner with her head held high, but her eyes betrayed her. The kind of stare that says, I saw everything. Every whisper, every sideways glance, every ounce of energy that wasn't hers. It wasn't just an elbow anymore. It was a warning that her grip on Hollywood's attention was slipping. In the days that followed, clips from the dinner flooded social media. Analysts slowed them down like investigators studying evidence. Watch her jaw, one said. That's the face of someone fighting back emotion. Another pointed out her hands, clasped too tightly in her lap. Every movement became a symbol, every blink a confession. The narrative had written itself. Meghan Markle, once the world's most photographed woman, had been sidelined at her own stage. What made it worse was how fast the footage spread. Platforms that usually celebrated her, lifestyle accounts, fan pages, gossip blogs, suddenly turned cold. They weren't mocking her outright, but the tone had changed. There was pity now, concern, a sense that Meghan had finally crossed into the one territory she feared most, irrelevance. And while she tried to laugh it off online, insiders whispered a harsher truth. That dinner wasn't an accident. It was a test. Emma Grade had invited her as a courtesy, yes, but also as an experiment. Could Meghan Markle still hold a room? Could she still sell the illusion of leadership, poise, power? The answer, caught in that one viral blink, was a resounding no. The irony is almost cinematic. Emma Grade, the woman who was supposed to elevate Meghan, might have unknowingly exposed her. Their connection, built through the powerful WME agency, had become both their lifeline and their trap. On paper, they shared the same goals: influence, exposure, empire. But behind the scenes, it was clear Emma had the credibility. Meghan had the controversy. One brought legitimacy, the other brought headlines. Together, they made noise. Apart, one of them fades, but the cracks were widening. Royal circles began asking pointed questions. How could Emma Grade, a figure aligned with the King's Foundation, keep associating with the woman who'd accused the royal family of cruelty and racism? The backlash grew so loud that palace insiders allegedly discussed her removal. The message was clear. Loyalty to Meghan Markle came at a price. And that price was rising, yet Emma didn't back away. She doubled down, posting radiant photos, tagging Meghan, captioning them with words like sisterhood and empowerment. It looked brave on Instagram, but those close to her said it reeked of obligation. Because as long as WME still represented both women, they were tethered, professionally and reputationally. Emma Grade couldn't walk away without burning a bridge that powerful executives told her to keep intact. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle pressed forward with her reinvention tour, the Boss Girl act in full motion. She launched products no one bought, teased ventures no one cared about, and spoke in interviews that felt more scripted than inspiring. Each rebrand promised a new era. Each one ended in silence. The Jam brand fizzled. The podcast imploded. The Netflix deal barely limped to the finish line. The audience wasn't just bored. They were tired. What no one around her wanted to say out loud was the simplest truth. Meghan Markle had become her own competition. Every move she made to stay relevant only reminded the public why they'd tuned out. The endless need for validation, the obsession with optics, the constant reinvention without real progress. It all painted a picture of a woman stuck in a loop, chasing a spotlight that keeps moving further away. And that's why the elbow meant more than anyone first thought. It wasn't violence, it wasn't malice, it was metaphor. Emma Grade, unintentionally or not, had literally pushed Meghan Markle aside, a gesture that mirrored what Hollywood itself has quietly done. There was a time when her arrival would stop conversations. Now, her presence barely pauses them. Behind closed doors, insiders say the mood in Montecito has shifted. The sparkle's dimmer. The calls from studios are slower. The brand deals take longer to close. Even Prince Harry, usually her fiercest defender, seems weary of the endless grind. It's always one more idea, a source whispered. One more launch. One more comeback. But the comebacks are starting to sound the same. The pattern is hauntingly predictable. Meghan Markle announces a new venture: glossy visuals, elegant packaging, empowering slogans. For a few weeks, excitement builds. Then nothing. Sales don't move. Reviews fade. The world shrugs. And before anyone can ask questions, she's already promoting the next thing. The hustle never ends, but the wins never come. Some say it's pride. Others call it panic. Either way, the result is the same: exhaustion. Meghan Markle has turned ambition into survival. The constant motion, the public smiles, the curated optimism. It's all armor against the creeping realization that maybe, just maybe, she's lost the one thing she can't buy back: trust. By the time Emma Grade's dinner photos had done their rounds, Hollywood insiders were already whispering about the fallout. That the partnership between the two women had run its course. That Emma, though outwardly loyal, was beginning to put quiet distance between their names. One publicist summed it up bluntly: you can't build your brand around someone who keeps burning theirs. And yet, even knowing this, Meghan Markle refuses to disappear. That's her gift and her curse. The woman who will not fade quietly. She'll keep showing up, keep rebranding, keep fighting to control the narrative, even as the narrative itself slips away. Because in her world, invisibility equals defeat. And Meghan Markle was never built to lose in silence. But that blink at Emma Grade's dinner, that small human moment, gave the audience something they'd never seen before: honesty. For a split second, the facade cracked. The performance stopped. The Duchess looked tired, vulnerable, aware, maybe even scared. And that image, more than any product or speech, will be remembered. Because one day, when the headlines move on and the cameras stop chasing her, people will recall that dinner, that flash of irritation, that frozen smile, that blink that lasted just a little too long. The night Meghan Markle realized the spotlight she fought so hard to control was finally turning away. And maybe that's the story she never wanted told. Not the fall from grace, but the quiet recognition that grace might never have been real to begin with.